Hi, my name is Gene Sower, and I am the president of SamsonMedia.net. We're an online marketing company that specializes in search engine optimization. We've been around for 15 years. This is our 15th year. We are sort of the coach's coach when it comes to helping coaches with their online marketing and establishing a high ranking in Google searches. So the whole point of this presentation today, blog checklist for coaches, 10 tips to make you a better blogger and attract more clients, is basically to get your coaching practice ranked when somebody does a Google search. So when somebody goes to Google and searches for positive psychology coach or a divorce coach or a life coach, you will be one of the people that will come up in a search, okay? So that's the goal. We want to get you on page one of Google, and the most effective way is through blogging, all right? So that is why blogging is so important. And there's lots of different ways to get ranked, but none more important than actually putting keywords on your site and blogging around what your keyword phrases are. So we're going to be talking about that, how to sort of structure your blogging habit. We want you to make it a habit, okay, where you're blogging consistently, and that would require at least 2 blog posts a month. In a perfect world, maybe once a week would be great, and in general, more is more. So the more you blog, the better. And the reason why blogging is important is because it's fresh content that includes keyword phrases that will be indexed by the search engines and returned when somebody does a search. So if you blog about why positive psychology coaching, will help you achieve your goals, and somebody's looking for, how will positive psychology help me achieve my goals? That blog post would come up and it would be triggered in a search because it has those keywords in it. Okay, so let's get right into it. All right, we're gonna touch on 10 different ways to make you a blogging pro. Okay. So first of all, you want to identify the specific audience, okay? So if you're let's just say you're an executive coach, and you're teaching up and coming executives how to advance their careers, you'd want to basically stress, talk to them about what their pain point is, how being coached effectively can advance their career. Okay, because that's what they want. They're interested in the benefits. So that's one of the takeaways. When you blog about the benefits of what you offer. Don't talk about how you do things necessarily. I mean, you can. That's sort of almost a side note. The thing you want to stress really is how what you do can benefit them in helping them achieve their goals. Okay. So number 2 is you want to tie the topic to one of your service offering pages. Now this comes down to basic website design. If you're let's say you're a life coach and you do basic life coaching and you do positive psychology coaching, okay? You would want to have a page on your website that's all about life coaching, and you'd want to have a separate page about positive psychology coaching. You wouldn't want to really combine those, because those are 2 different keyword sets, and you want to basically keep them separate. You want to keep them in separate silos, so that if somebody's looking for positive psychology coaching, the positive psychology coaching page would come up, okay? And when you're blogging, you want to blog around your relevant topics. So you want to be blogging about positive psychology coaching. You want to be blogging about life coaching. Let's say you were a divorce coach. You want to be blogging about how a divorce coach can help you. The advantages of using a divorce coach. Okay, so you want to basically, it sounds obvious, but you want to blog about your topic areas. Okay, and the takeaway is to make sure that each service has its own page within your site. Okay, I know there's this newish kind of trend to have these long scrolling pages, and from a design standpoint it's kind of nice and it looks good on the phone or whatever, but from an SEO perspective it's really it's a major negative, because if you have everything mushed together on one page, then the search engine can't differentiate between the different topic areas. It becomes all about everything, which basically becomes all about nothing. It's white noise. So you want to separate the topic areas out on your website and then blog about those areas, okay? So it just reinforces what each of those sections is about, okay? Let's talk about keywords. So you want to basically figure out what your, when we start the process, we ask the clients, the coaches, what are the keywords you want to be found for? Positive psychology coaching, Boston, life coach, Colorado, we want to tie it to a location too, okay? So let's just say it's, it's couples coaching, let's just say. We would make sure that we have the words couples coaching in the blog post. It sounds obvious, but you need to include the keywords in the blog itself. So that's why you also want to write about the topic areas and include the keywords. And we're going to talk a little bit about where to put the keywords throughout the blog and how often you should use the phrases in some subsequent slides. But the takeaway is basically you want to include a primary keyword in the title of the post, if you can, if it makes sense, and at least in the first sentence, because pages are indexed by Google from the top down. So the sooner you get to the keyword phrase, the more quickly it will be indexed and will be returned in a search if somebody actually types that keyword phrase in, all right? So people always ask, how long should the blog post be? Well, they can be of varying lengths, but we recommend that it's at least 500 words or more, which I know can seem onerous to some people and sounds like a tough order, but once you start writing, it usually just kind of flows. But the reason is, it's not an arbitrary number, is because if you don't do at least 500 words, and I'm hearing these days that it's more like closer to 1,000, but I know that can be intimidating, so let's just start with 500. But it's a little bit like peeing in the ocean. It won't really have an impact. It needs to have enough heft, enough keyword density to make a difference and actually register, to create a ripple in the search engine. So another reason is because if you have at least 500 words, you can weave the keyword into the blog post without appearing to be keyword stuffing. Like you can't just repeat the keyword like 10 times because that will look like you're trying to game the system, and Google will actually penalize you for that, all right? So you definitely want to have enough words that you can spread out, so you can spread the keywords out throughout the blog post, okay? So the takeaway message is, too short will not have enough impact. So you want to make sure that you have enough verbiage on the page to really make an impact, okay? So let's talk about long tail keywords, all right? Phrases throughout the post. Excuse the typo there. So a long tail keyword is basically a phrase that's at least 3 words, okay? So it could be something like benefits of executive coaching, all right? That's 4 words, which is fine. It can even be 5 words, anything from 2 to 5 words. So benefits of executive coaching. So that would be a long tail keyword phrase that somebody would possibly go to Google and say, what are the benefits of executive coaching? How can I get ahead, using, executive coaching? So these kinds of long tail phrases will trigger the search engine to return your post. And the trend in the last few years with Google and SEO is that it likes to, it rewards like natural speech and natural patterns of speech. So it's more natural to have surrounding keyword phrases like benefits and executive coaching. So together, that's something that you basically want to use. So I mentioned earlier about how to spread the keywords out. Well, we recommend a hourglass format, which is basically you want to try to have the keyword phrase or part of the keyword phrase in the title, and then you want to have it at least once in the opening paragraph, if not the first sentence. So if you have, what are the benefits of executive coaching? That could be the title. The benefits of executive, 3 reasons, why executive, 3 benefits of executive coaching. And then the first sentence would be, one of the benefits of executive coaching is, and then you go into it. And then you want to make sure that you have it maybe once or twice in the first 1 or 2 paragraphs. And then you want to have it maybe once in the middle, and then you want to finish strong. So it's like an hourglass. You want to start, you want to have it at the beginning, have it a little bit in the middle, and then you want to finish strong and try to repeat the keyword phrases again at the end in the last sentence of the blog post. Okay. Now, you want to include the keywords in the subheads too. So when you're writing, a 500, 700 word blog post, you're going to have different paragraphs. You want to break it up. So what I suggest, a good sort of technique, is write the blog. Just write it. Don't worry about the subheads. And then go back and write the subheads after you write the blog. So it's like basically whatever the paragraph is about, tell them what the paragraph's about. So it might sound obvious, but this, people skim also. So it can almost be a summary. The benefit of executive coaching is getting ahead quicker. So that could be one of the subheads, and then you explain how that is the case. So takeaway messages. Also, Google gives preference to subtitles. Because the subtitle is physically larger on the page, it takes on a larger, it makes a larger impact to Google. So Google actually sees that phrase as more important simply because it's larger. It's also called an H1 or an H2 tag, which is an HTML thing, but it just means it's a larger subhead. So by making it a large subhead, it's an H1 or it's an H2 tag. It doesn't really matter for you, but it matters to the search engine, because if it's a larger type, it's a larger font, it must mean it's more important. So try to use the keyword in the subheads as well as the title, which we talked about earlier. Okay. Now, graphics are important. So people say, oh, I got 750 words, 1,000 words. It's so dense. Well, you want to break it up. You want to break it up with subtitles, paragraphs, and add pictures. Pictures are really good for SEO. Okay. It's not a bad thing. You want to actually add 2 or 3 pictures, throughout the blog post. And the reason is, instead of adding a file like image1.jpg, call it executivecoaching.jpg, executive coaching New York.jpg if you're in New York, executive coaching Colorado.jpg if you're in Colorado, so that it's adding more keyword density to the whole page. So when it's indexed, Google is indexing the graphics as well, and it will see that there are these keywords related to the graphics. And there's something else called alt tags, which stands for alternative tag. Now, you'd have to get into the code for that. So if you use WordPress or other websites, there's usually an empty pair of quotes where the alt tag would go. And again, you could just repeat the keyword phrase in the alt tag. And alt tag was something that harkened back to the old days of the internet, where dial-up, was very slow, and the page would form like really slowly on the page. And the alt tag was, some people would turn the graphics off because they were too large and they didn't want to wait for the page to render. But it would tell them that it was like, the alt tag was a map, invitation graphic, whatever it was, to kind of give you a clue. But they've kept the alt tags in there even to this day, and often they're blank. So it's really, one of the advantages is it's really low-hanging fruit. It's like the easiest legal way to stuff the blog post with additional keyword phrases. Okay, so you want to use the keywords as file names. So name the image a keyword phrase .jpg, even if it's a picture of palm trees, and your keyword phrase is really executive coaching. Call the palm trees executive coaching.jpg. It doesn't matter. Call it, use the keyword phrase to rename the image, okay? And include keywords in the alt tags, all right? So we talked about having those separate pages, right? You're gonna have one page per product or service. Well, this is where it really comes into play. So when you're blogging about, the advantages of being an executive coach, and you have an executive coach page, you want to simply say, so when you have that first sentence that you say, what are the advantages of executive coaching? That keyword phrase, executive coaching, make it a link. The word executive coaching, link to the executive coaching page on your own site. Because internal linking reinforces the importance of that keyword phrase to Google. This is probably one of the most important things, is the internal linking. By linking the keyword phrase to the page on your own site that's about that keyword phrase, it reinforces what your site is about and will give it an advantage over other sites that don't have internal linking, okay? It's a real advantage, right? So it's a top ranking factor. It changes, it used to be a top 5, a top 3, a top 10. It's a top one, all right? So it's still important to have internal links from your blog post. Every time you blog, link back to one of the relevant pages every single time, even multiple places, okay? And then speaking of links, it's okay to have links. So if you're doing a blog post about executive coaching and you want to link to a Inc. magazine or Psychology Today or a New York Times or a Wikipedia, something that's it's a high-ranking, established website that's well known, by linking out to that site, some people think, oh, I'm sending traffic away. You might be, but the value that you get from the search engine seeing like, oh, this is an article and they're citing another important website. Again, they're following the links out to your own links and they're following it out to other sites. So just talk to your web developer, or if you manage your website, when you link out to another site, you want to make sure it opens in a new tab, okay? I can explain that if you want to reach out to me on, there's a little code to make sure it opens in a new tab, as opposed to just clicking off to a new site, and then when they close the site, your site's gone. You want to open it in a new tab, so when they read that other reference and they click it, your site is still there. So the takeaway is here, you want to include 3 to 4 links to outside authoritative relevant websites. So what I usually do as a technique is I'll put at the bottom of the blog post, I'll put, for other information on the benefits of executive coaching, again, that keyword phrase, here are additional resources about the benefits of executive coaching. So that's in an H1 tag, so I got that. And then I'll link 3 bullet points at the end to links off to other relevant articles about that topic area, okay? Very effective. And the last one is, you've got somebody there, they've read or skimmed your article, why not give them a call to action? So the action should be something of value. It should be a free consultation, a checklist, a download, first appointment free, 10% off a 3-pack, whatever it is that you think you can, the more valuable you can make it, the better, to actually, inspire somebody to actually follow through and give you a call. Or schedule an appointment, or sign up for your Calendly link and book an appointment, okay? So hopefully you found that helpful. If you'd like to download all of this that we've talked about today, have it in a little handy download. Just 8 pages, and it basically reiterates everything that we talked about today. So hopefully you found this useful. Thank you much for listening, and I'll see you around. Definitely see you around on LinkedIn. Thanks a lot.